Welcome to Small Business Big Visibility. I'm so excited today. We got Bart Miller. Bart's the owner of I Do Epic, but this guy, he really does do epic. I mean, he's got all kinds of awards, Tucama Club, 10X Award. He's a bodybuilder, team roping. He even does pickleball. Like this guy, if you can think of it, he's probably done it or trained people how to do it. Now, Bart, tell us your story. How did you get into all this variety in life? And tell us, what do you mean by I Do Epic as your business?
That's awesome. Thanks for asking, Jason. How I got into it all was I just really learned at a young age that you can be anything you want. And the only thing that limits you is your mind and you yourself. And
Hmm.
so as I started getting in my career, I just decided, why not? Yeah, I was raised this way, but does that mean that's who I am? And the answer is no. And so I really figured out how to play with lots of different things and have fun with lots of different things. And that started to be on my career path. And if you've heard me speak about, different things, that's my transformation that I help people with is learning how to get out of their own way and become what they want to become, but not understand that their environment that they lived in is what they become, but that it's not necessarily who they are. And, you can create any environment you want and become whatever you want to be.
Hmm. And so is that where the I Do Epic came from? Is this idea of doing whatever?
Yeah, so our family model was higher, louder, faster, better, and that's what we always kind of went around. And then obviously, all my buddies are like, "Dude, we do the epic stuff. We always are doing epic things," and and that just like, you know what? I do epic stuff, and so it kind of ended up got that trademarked for everything, and that's kind of where we've stuck, just because we just feel like we want to be epic and do epic fun things. So that's how
Mhm.
the brand came about.
Oh, that's great. So what's some of the epic things you have done? What sticks out in your brain?
Well, I've done everything from ice climbing to bungee jumping to pickleball to team roping. I've done lots of crazy things, backcountry skiing, backcountry hiking, all sorts of just like extreme stuff. Yeah, I've done lots of fun adventures in my life, traveled a lot, done lots of stuff.
Any favorites?
Um, no, not that I can think of. Not one thing that
It's
was
all
like,
good, huh?
yeah, it's all fun.
Nice. And now, but on the flip side of all the fun, you've also been a business owner for what is it, over 25 years, I believe?
Yeah, I've been a business owner for longer than that actually, but yeah, I've owned my own company for most of my life in some
Mhm.
way, shape, or form.
And what's that journey been like for you?
It's been crazy. I started off in sales, basically, then got into marketing, and then really started working on a lot of mindset transformational work. But I've always been in some sort of business that has to deal with marketing and sales for sure.
Hmm. And so with that journey from being in the sales world into the mindset world, what
Yeah.
caused what caused that transformation for you? Because sales is, I mean, you can make a ton of money in sales, right? So there must have
Yeah.
been something deeper.
Well, sales always goes back to psychology, right? And any good sales guy, I feel like, or marketing person really studies psychology and really studies cults a lot. And the reason you want to study those things is because, it's all manipulation of the brain in some way, shape, or form, good or bad, and that's been through the years. And so, I think if you're in sales and marketing, the natural thing to do is to get into psychology. And the deeper you get into psychology, the more you figure out, oh my gosh, this affects me just as much as it affects anybody else. So you start learning more and more about mindset, more and more about, what you say, your words, things like that, how important they are, what you're part of, who you surround yourself with, all that kind of stuff. So I think it was a natural transition because I just wanted to be the best at what I was doing and learn the most about what I was doing. And that was one of the pathways that really taught you the most about how to do your marketing and how to do your sales.
Gotcha. Yeah, totally makes sense. And so with that transition, now you say your family motto was bigger, faster, louder, better. Is that what you said?
Bigger, louder, faster, better.
There we go. So how is that translated to you being a business owner and balancing this idea of family and work and play and all those things? How's that all tie together for you?
Yeah, so with our kids, we always architected our life by design, and we really sat down with our kids and said, "What do you want?" And then, we would map out what they wanted through the years and things that would be fun for them. And then we would show them how the business worked to make that happen. So that when we were here, we're doing this, it's because we want to do this with you, you know? So they were part of making everything happen, not just, oh, well, we're part of dad's, you know, when dad gets home, then it's time, you know, or we want to go on this trip. It was all planned with them because no matter what we wanted to do, we wanted them to feel part of building our family. And when we built our family, we always did things like, let's go, like, you know, if we're going to do it, let's go all in. You know, we're not just going to do it just to do it. Let's do it because we want to do it. And so it translated really well because we sacrificed a lot, but we also gained a lot because, you know, our family was first, business was second. The business just facilitated what we wanted to do as a family, whatever the family decided. And so for us, it worked really, really well.
Yeah. And so how did you take a business and build it so it could do that? Because I think a ton of people out there, that was the vision, that was the dream, and then somehow they get stuck in this pit where the business takes all their time, takes all their money, and they're left wondering, what did I do wrong, right?
Yeah, good question. Well, I think the biggest thing is that as a child, you know, and this goes back to belief structures and all the stuff that I've studied for years, but the number one thing is go to school. Number two thing is get a job. Number three thing is everything else comes after that. It's not, you know, and I don't think we teach humans that the number one thing to do is live life, live for today because you don't know about tomorrow, and really structure your life around what makes you happy and what fulfills you because you don't know tomorrow is going to exist. And so for me, with my kids, it was always, yes, school's important, but I'm not going to put you into slavery. You know, like that has been abolished, I thought. And the whole system of going to school to get a job that you don't want, to work for somebody else, to do what, you know, like I'm not saying that's a bad model and it's needed, but at the end of the day, it was like, hey, I want you to learn how to live life. And through that passion, find what you want to do. Let's build a career around that. And then your life operates because you're living out of passion with that. And so for me, that's just what ended up happening. You know, I love to sell, I love marketing, I loved all the mindset stuff. It was really fun for me. And it was something I could do with my family at the same time. So as I would look at opportunities, I knew what my North Star always was. I knew what I wanted to do. And if it didn't fit, I said no. Like, yes, it could have made me more money. Yes, it could have done this. Yes, it could have done all these things. But at the end of the day, it didn't fit the freedom I wanted, or it didn't fit our family, what we wanted to do, or it was just the wrong timing. So it was easy for me to say no because I knew my North Star. I knew where I was headed with my family. So therefore, decisions became easy in what we were willing to do. You know, was my wife willing to work? Was she not? Were my kids going to get outside jobs? If they did, how did it fit so they could still accomplish the things with the family? So everything was measured back to the family and what we wanted to do. And so sometimes my kids didn't work in the summer. It was impossible for them to be able to go and do things that we wanted to do. So therefore, we got them jobs within the business to help facilitate our own company. You know, it just kind of depended. But really, I think the biggest thing is happiness doesn't come because of money. Yes, it helps. And don't get me wrong. I mean, it's very important, but it will come if you're passionate about what you're doing. And I think that's where people get lost is if you're so passionate about it and you're really good at it, that cream always rises to the top and people want that. They want to be part of that. And so I just looked at being the best I could at what I wanted to do. And then hopefully people wanted to be part of that. And we created companies around that.
Gotcha. So how did you discover what your North Star was? Is that something you always knew, or did you have to go through a process to achieve that discovery?
Well, like I tell everybody, in relationship or whatever you're doing in life, um, I'm not the same person I was 20 years ago, and
Mhm.
neither are you. You're not the same person you were 5 years ago. So yeah, it can move, right? And things are going to evolve with whatever you're doing. But I think we knew as a North Star that we wanted to be united, and that was always our goal with my wife and I, is we want our kids to be close. We want to help foster them. We want to teach them the principles that we want. We wanted to travel with them. We wanted to see certain things, experience certain things. We wanted them to work on the ranch and the farm and stuff like that, you know. So like, yeah, our North Star got determined because of that. But when our kids got older, they had their North Star too. And then we would look at that and compare it with ours and how it fit and where they wanted to go, you know? So it evolves for sure. But I think that's why every year you sit down with your family and you plan and you have your family mottos and you really sit down and decide what you want to do as a family and see if everybody matches. And sometimes it doesn't, and some people have to give and some people have to not give, like it goes back and forth. But I mean, to answer you, yes, it takes time to architect it. But once you've got it architected, you can stick with anything for a year, in my opinion. Then the next year you restructure, you relook at it, reevaluate and plan again.
Gotcha. So is this process that you're talking about, is that part of what you offer people in your company? What's that? Do you mind speaking to the company a little bit and explaining
Yeah.
that?
So in our I do Epic program, which is my lowest tier program, is all about creating your why. And that as a human being is really important. So each one of our kids, we help them architect their why for not only life, for their business, what they stand for, right? What's their why? And then you take that. So we teach that to everybody that comes in our ecosystem because I feel like the reason you get out of bed is for your why. That doesn't mean it's your business, right? So from there, once you understand that principle, then it's like you got to plan every year and then you got to plan every quarter. And then you got to be able to break that down into bite-sized chunks. So in our planner, they're able to plan all that out, understand how to do it, how to look at the things they need to, the indicators. And then every day they get on and they start to eat that a bite at a time to where they hit their goal.
Got it. So very much you're helping people architect who they want to be, not what they've allowed themselves to become, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how does team roping fit into your why?
Well, for me, when I was younger, I really wanted to rodeo a lot. That was one of my passions, but we couldn't afford it. I was, not capable of doing that at that time. My dad didn't have the means. And so for me, it was a goal to be able to do that. So when I got old enough and could afford it, we started in that path because my wife was raised on a ranch. She was raised on a dairy and things like that. And it just was a lot of fun. We loved animals. We loved horses. We loved to travel. So it just fit our why and it fit our North Star. And
Mhm.
in doing that, it gave our kids a lot of things to be around. And honestly, um, I think my daughter was 3 or 4 years old, and they just didn't like it. They did not want anything to do with it. So I sold everything, got out of rodeo, and actually exited, sold all my horse trailers, sold horses, sold saddles, sold everything. And I didn't rope for a long time. That's when I was racing bikes and doing other things. And we figured out a new North Star as a family. And so when all my kids were out, except for my youngest, which was an 8 year gap, then he loved horses. He wanted back in it. So we got back into it. And so that's where the nickname, the Billion Dollar Cowboy, came, is because when I got back into it, I bought everything brand new. So when I showed up at everything, it was like new horse trailer, new trucks, new saddles, new horses, new everything. And they're like, oh my God, you're like, you came into the world like, but it's because I came back to the world after I'd exited it for a long, long period of time because it just
Mhm.
didn't fit.
Gotcha. So, if we can transition a little bit, I'd love to get your opinion on a totally different subject, but I think it will kind of relate here in a second. And the question is, I've heard a lot of people who are business owners, and there's a lot of fear about, are we going to enter a recession? Are we in a recession? And some people are saying their market's slowing down, and they're worried that they're not going to have enough business. What do you think about that as a whole? But then also uh, coming back to that mindset piece and living your North Star, how do you see all that fitting together?
It's a great question. And I think it's a very relevant question. But I think the number one thing you have to ask yourself is, when has there not been a recession? When has there not been doomsday? When has there not been not enough work? I mean, I hate to say it, but that's the way we're programmed, is the media, everything is always fear-based.
Hmm.
Everything is to scare the crap out of you, right? And so for me, it's like looking at myself and saying, okay, maybe the puck is going a different direction, but that doesn't mean life isn't going to go on. Doesn't mean anything really changes. I've got to be adaptable. I got to be able to change with whatever's happening in my environment. Nobody could have predicted COVID,
Right.
but it caused you to change in some way, shape, or form. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
I think that what we happen in our life is we get so stuck in our identity, so stuck in this, so stuck in that that we can't become adaptable. We're not moldable. We're not anything because, you know, and I think that's the problem that we're facing right now is not the problem of lack of there's not enough money, there's not enough clients, there's not enough. It's really, am I adapting? Am I at the top of what I'm supposed to be doing? And if I am, people will still seek me out. They will still want that. They still are going to be part of programs. They're still going to develop. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think what really comes down to is really having people in your corner that are helping you understand where the puck is going and then being moldable and adaptable to go there because the same skill sets and the same things can evolve. It's just learning how to do it. And so I think, we just get caught in old thinking and we get fear-based, which is what the media wants to do. That's part of marketing. I mean, that's why everybody goes, there's only 10 spots left. You don't hurry today. This opportunity's gone forever. I mean, we've used these tactics forever. Why? Because they work. And so they're working really well right now. Now, to answer your question, do I think there's a bigger COVID coming? And I don't think it's COVID isn't a disease, but worse than what we went through. Yes, because people aren't adaptable, not because it's bigger. And what I mean by that is that I think artificial intelligence, AI, organic intelligence are two different things.
Hmm.
And AI now is doing a lot of the things that organic intelligence used to do. And I think that there's a lot of fear when that starts to happen. But organic intelligence has all the capacity of artificial intelligence and greater if you understand how to tap into it. So, therefore, do I believe that we could be back in communes and closer to people? The answer is yes. Because at the end of the day, I won't know if this is you interviewing me anymore, Jason. Coming up
Right.
in another 3 years, you could all of a sudden have an AI bot that's doing this right here. And I'd be like, that was the best interview ever. Come to find out, oh my gosh, that was AI that I was speaking to, the whole time. Like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. But at the end of the day, are people still going to need human connection? Are they still going to want to be around their certain tribes? The answer is yes. I think it can actually bring us closer together, but we're going to have to pay attention to it. And I think the puck is moving. But at the same time, I'm not I'm not so sure that artificial intelligence won't surpass us and actually go to a different dimension. They might go to Mars. Like, why do they even want to deal with us? I
Yeah.
mean, why do they even care about us? They don't need a human body. They can go live wherever they want, do whatever they want, and still do it. And that's why people, when they tell me that we're developing artificial intelligence, I'd say that's like saying we developed electricity. It was already here. We just didn't know it existed. Artificial intelligence has been here forever. It's just now we're understanding it as a human at a different level. There's other things out there too.
Yep.
That doesn't mean it's here to destroy us. It doesn't mean it won't get so smart so fast that it goes away. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know, but I do know one thing. I'm here today and I can live today and I can enjoy today. And so that's what I always think about the myth that we get sold on retirement. Like I've seen so many people in their lives. I'm going to do this when I retire. I'm going to do this when I do this. And that's it's great to a certain extent, but it's like, why not do it now? Because when you retire, maybe your significant other gets sick and you can't go. Then what just happened to your whole dream?
Right.
So I just look at life and say, why aren't you living it today? Why aren't you doing the things you want to do today? Like tomorrow, you may not have that chance. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, I might go out. This might be the last time I talk to somebody. I might go out and get in my car and get in it. Who knows?
Yep.
If I'm living for today, I have no regrets for tomorrow. But if I'm always living for tomorrow, I'm not even living today. I'm a
Mm.
robot.
Right. And so how does that tie in this living for today and bodybuilding, because bodybuilding is something that isn't a today. It's like I'm going to get the reward not today, but in the future, right? Or is there rewards you get to every day that you go working out?
Yeah, I mean, your health to me is the only thing that matters, right? And bodybuilding just happens to be a mechanism. I mean, I've done cycling, pickleball, volley. I don't care as long as this is staying in the best shape I can. Now, some of the best athletes still croak over and die, let's be clear. But I'm just trying to keep my body in the best shape I can. Because number one is it's what runs everything for me. Like it runs my life. It's what I get to do. So this is a very important mechanism to carry the energetic system I have. So every time I lift, no matter if I'm going to a bodybuilding competition or not, I'm strengthening this body in some way, shape, or form.
Mm,
So I think it's critically important that we do work out and that we do physical things. And the human body is designed to do hard things. So therefore, if I sit in front of my computer every single day and do nothing, what ends up happening? And I think it's the same thing that's happening in the brain right now. And that's one of the big things that I talk a lot about is our brain needs bodybuilding, not the physical bodybuilding, but you've got to be doing critical thinking or else you're going to lose it because AI is taking all these jobs, doing it for you. So you don't have to do any critical thinking. So if you're not taking time out for your brain and doing certain things, you're going to lose that part of it, which destroys society.
wow.
So bodybuilding is important for the physical body, but the mental bodybuilding work is getting more important than it's ever been in its life because we've got to keep our critical cognitive thinking or else we're in big trouble
Absolutely. So how do you see the actual physical act of bodybuilding help in your business?
because I'm more alert. I've got more energy. I'm more attractive, and believe it or not, somebody sees that you're fit, they see you look great, you're just a more attractive human, like it or not. I mean, I'm not saying it in a good or a bad way, it's just facts, right? So I want to be fit, I want to be presentable, I want to be mobile, I want to do stuff. That affects my business. It affects my energy level.
Yeah, for sure. So all these things, they just intertwine so much, it sounds like these things that people like to put in the box and be like, "Oh, I have my fitness over here, I have my family goal over here and my business and all these things." But you're saying, "No, you can't really unpack those. They are all so intertwined."
Well, they're intertwined in every aspect because if you look at your family itself, if it's kind of like the statement of you go to your kid and say, "Hey, you really should be doing this, 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 this," and they look at you and say, "Well, why aren't you?"
Mm,
So why don't you do that?
right.
And it's like, I can go to my kids and say, "I work out every single day, therefore you should do the same, and this is why I believe it." Now they may not accept that. That's totally cool. They have their own free will. But at the end of the day, I've got to live to what I feel like is important. I can't coach it and can't do it if I don't do it myself.
Hmm.
Or else my students or my kids can look at me and say, "Well, then why aren't you?"
Yeah. So what do you tell people when they're like, "Oh, I'm too busy"?
Well, I mean, you can eat your medicine now or you can eat it later. It's up to you. Either way, you're going to eat it.
Mm,
So you can take it in a vitamin format and try to keep yourself as healthy as you possibly can, or you're going to take it in some sort of drugs at the end of the day because you can't move. So either way, you're gonna find time. And I promise you right now, and this is a horrible thing to say, but if all of a sudden your house was on fire, you'd have plenty of time to run out, but your business would be at a standstill with all your computers in there. And guess what? You'd still figure it out. Like, like there's always a way to figure out time if you really want it. What you're really saying is that's not important to me. That's fine. That's totally
mm.
cool. I get it. If it's not important to you, don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's such a critical distinction though, because I hear you saying is people will use those excuses and they may not even realize that they're truly saying, "I don't value that." But that's what you hear when they say it.
100%. It's like a guy that goes through a divorce. It's interesting. All these guys, I've had buddies over the years, call me dude. You got to get me working out. I gotta look ripped. Why? Because I'm going through a divorce and I got to start dating. Well, why the hell didn't you do that for your wife?
Mm.
Like maybe you still have her. All that time you said you didn't have, now all of a sudden you have it. What changed? Well, nothing changed. Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, those date nights you should have taken your wife on. I did you didn't have time for? Hmm. Now you got time to go date somebody else you don't even know? Where'd you find that time?
Man. Yeah, that one would cut right to the sender.
Well, it's truth though.
Right. Yeah, that's why it cuts, I think.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is we don't want to be real with ourselves, but it's okay. Well, because okay, but you found the time.
Right. So what's the biggest piece of advice you'd give somebody in that's thinking about their business or starting a business or just kind of dipping their toe into that area?
Well, you got to be passionate about it or you'll quit. You got to have a why or you won't do it.
Mhm.
It's like trying to send a Navy SEAL, right? So I don't know if you've watched much of Bud's trainings or the things like that or studied these SEALs, but at the end of the day, it generally isn't the strongest guy that makes it through Bud's training.
Okay.
It's the guy who has the strongest why that gets through Bud's training.
Gotcha.
Because the reason you want to figure that out and the reason they go through that process is Jason, let's say you made the Navy SEALs. Let's say you're the buffest dude on planet Earth. You're a phenomenal marksman. You've got all the skills. Yet you get across enemy lines and you get captured and you're in a box for 3 months. What happens to your body? What
Yeah, it's
happens to
toast.
what happens to your mental capacity? So what matters to you? All those skills or why you committed to being a Navy SEAL so you don't give up all the precious shit that's in your head to enemies.
Right.
It's this that matters. It's the why that matters. And they know when they won't quit or give up because their why is stronger than all the skills. You got the right person. The
Hmm.
problem in business is people don't have a strong enough why. They're just doing it for the almighty dollar. When shit's hard, money's not coming in, everything's hitting the fan, guess what they do? Give up.
Yep.
It's not what they believe in. That's when you see entrepreneurs that make it to the top. It's because their why was stronger than their business.
Hmm.
Their why was stronger than their business. They had a passion for the one thing they were going to change the world with, and they never looked any other place. And when you start to look, it's because you're questioning a belief. You're questioning what you were designed for. You're questioning all these things. That's a beautiful thing because just like I said, your why can change.
Hmm.
But if it does change mid part of the business, you got to get really real with yourself. You got to get hardcore, go deep and say, what's the next why? And what am I going to get so passionate about that I'm not going to quit? Or guess what'll happen? You'll just flounder.
Right. Right. So have you seen transformations like this with these your I don't know, do you call them students or what?
Yeah. Yeah. So all my clients, they have a lot of big transformations. I've seen guys that start with me that are in a company, and I mean, one comes to mind right now. He was 100% making money, doing everything. Everything was perfect, right? But it wasn't who he was designed to be.
Hmm.
When we got into the coaching and I showed him that, he was like, wow, I got to start over.
Wow.
I'm like, yeah, you do. And guess what? In 1 month of him starting over, he made more money than he did the entire 3 years building what he did.
Whoa.
It was so magnetic. And when you're in your zone as genius and it's you become super magnetic. Like people are like, I want to be on that dude's team.
Yeah.
Like that's the passion I'm after. I want to follow that. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's exciting. It's fun. You know they're going to crush it. You know they're in their zone of genius. They're not fighting it.
So we're going back to what you said at the beginning. You said that people who are in sales, marketing, and really excel, they study about cults and they study movements and all that. So are the cult leaders, would you say they're in a zone of genius? Is that what draws
Boy,
people
I'll
to
tell you,
them?
some of them really are. They're created to be manipulators. You know, let's be clear. They figured out how to manipulate, right? Now, once again, I'm not saying all cults start off in trying to be bad. I'm not
Right.
trying to, but there is no such thing as culture without a cult tied to it.
Mm,
It's in the word, right? Culture, right? So what you're really trying to do is how do you unite human beings? That's what a cult does, good or bad, however you want to look at it, right? It brings a group of people that believe in the same things to go somewhere and to move them. And there are great leaders that are in their zone of genius of doing that. And they may not recognize till later, or they may never recognize what's really happening. Let's be clear, like in psychology, but all psychology, let's be clear, for years has been used for good and bad.
yeah.
So some of it's very bad. Some of it starts off really good, turns bad. Some of it's all good. I don't, it all varies.
And so if we can zoom out for a second and talk, one of the things that's always fascinated me is in the founding of America, it was this idea of let's let the ideas win, right? And we're not going to put a restriction on what people can say. We're going to be as open as we can on what people can do as long as they're not harming those around them, right? And we have within America several different cultures that, and I think that people call it politics when they start banging their heads against each other. But when we look at our country as a whole, we have this very open dialogue that can happen. So in your mind, how do we as a society help people to find where they should be residing and who they truly are?
Great question. So for me, first and foremost, it's understanding that you're never right or you're never wrong.
Mm,
So if we get into a heated debate about something, it doesn't mean you're right or I'm wrong. It means that we're trying to figure things out and move life. That doesn't mean I should hate you or you should hate me. It actually means that you're challenging me and I am challenging you, and we should go further with this. Does
yeah,
that make sense?
yeah,
But wouldn't you, that's what I don't like about, if I call it politics, is I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a Republican, I'm not nobody. I'm an American, man.
yeah.
Let's just stay with that. Now, let's talk about what we can do as Americans. Now, you may have a different concept on it. I may have a different concept on it. That's good. That's what America's based on.
Yeah.
That's called give and take. Let's figure it out. But for me to just say you are wrong doesn't work for me,
Hmm.
because reality is I might find out you were right.
Yeah.
And I've had a lot of beliefs that I anchored that weren't even my beliefs, but I thought they were my beliefs because of the environment I was raised in.
Mm, hmm.
And your environment's going to dictate a lot of the things that you do. But what we don't get allowed to do when we become adults is stop and say, wait a minute, where did these beliefs really come from? And are they truly mine, or were they embedded in me because of my environment, because of how I was raised, because of this, right?
Yeah.
And once we have that moment and that aha moment, we really become humans. See, the thing is we've got away from being humans. That's what we got to get back to, is what is a human? What are we here for? Once you go back to some of that, you start questioning these beliefs, you start figuring these out, different things start to happen for you. Different ideas open up to you.
So biggest takeaway, if you were to tell a business owner one thing, what would you say?
Do what you're passionate about. And I know that there's a lot of contradiction of just work, enjoy your passions. But I think the biggest thing what I'm trying to say is understand your why, and then understand how to architect your life for what you want, then create your company.
Yeah.
But create your life first. Create some things that you want to do. What are your goals? What do you really desire? What do you want? So that if you died today and you were standing in front of your maker and he said, hey, you can live the exact same life again, you go, put me in, coach.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think that's the end goal is to be able to say, man, I lived every minute. This is great. Not to say you're not going to have hard times, because that's part of it. It's part of it. But if you enjoy the journey, not just the destination, gosh, dang, what a cool thing. Then when you
So,
get to the destination, it's like, put me back in, coach. That was fun. I want to do the walk again. I had so much fun along the way.
yeah. And I think that you make a great point that the challenges, they are actually part of what makes it amazing, right? Like bodybuilding doesn't work unless there's a challenge. If you're
Resistance,
lifting something that doesn't challenge you, you're not growing.
every part of life has resistance, but that's what makes you.
So I think that the I do epic is really cool, but what I really hear you saying is you help others do epic.
Well, I like to. That's why our podcast is We Play Full Out because I want you to play full out. We, as a collective, play full out.
Yeah. I mean, what an awesome opportunity in life to be the guy that ensures other people get to live their epic, whatever that means to them, right?
Yeah, you can just help, right? But if you're not living it yourself or trying to, it's hard to inspire anybody else to do the same.
Mhm. Well, I sure appreciate you taking the time to be on the podcast today. How would people find out more about you or connect with you? Where should they go? What do they do?
Yeah, they can go to idoepic.com. They can go to weplayfullout.com. Either one of those are great. Follow me on Instagram, whatever you want to do. But yeah, let's just help you architect your life by design instead of having it architected for you. That's the big thing.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all the nuggets and all the inspiration. This has been tremendous.
You bet. No problem. Glad to be here.
And to all of our audience, thank you for listening to another episode of Small Business Big Visibility. Love for you to connect and share this with other entrepreneurs who are struggling and maybe trying to find their why as well.